Now we have Baierl from Lamberts, who's going to be doing another 20 minutes on the current production. Excellent.
Okay.
Do you want to hold it?
I switch with this?
Yes. So we go. There we go. Would you
Okay.
rather hold that? Or?
Yeah, I would like to hold it.
Yeah, there we go. Great.
Okay. So it's a pleasure to be here. So thank you for the invitation. But it's hard for me to tell you something more. The two guys before informed you about. So I want to take you to the emotional part of our story, because what we are talking about is not just a product, it's an emotional part of our life, of history. We want to transport to the next generations. On the other hand, I want to give you some practical information and want to show you a little bit more how tough it is to get all this knowledge together to produce a simple piece of mouse-blown glass. So, my name is Christian Baierl. I was almost born in a company, even if I'm not the owner. I worked there for 25 years and try to fill the gaps. We've not yet talked about colored glass, so I really thought hard about that, cancelled it, put it back, cancelled it, and I decided to bring it with us, because window restoration is very often also about decorative or colored glass, just that it's not been forgotten. I focus on the functional window glass, of course. Our company is located in Germany, southeastern Bavaria. We have a long company history. We originally have been found in the late 19th century and built a new facility in the same city, Waldshassen, in 1905. By the way, we started to that time, we were talking about, with machine-drawn glass. We are working in a heritage building, so the hall made of wood you see here is from 1896 and was formerly an exhibition hall for an industrial international fair in Nuremberg. That's the roof for our production, for our people, for our furnaces. The furnace is the core of our production, and it's not just a furnace like in the industry with one batch of glass. We have special furnaces, so we have the ability every day to melt 18 different pot molten colors or glasses every single day by 1450 degrees Celsius. So a very intensive process. All the materials, the tools, the ingredients we use for our process are very critical. So we build up a network and can source from all over the world, but majorly in our region, everything we require for production. For example, the melting pots, which is a really, really significant part of the melting process. So it's a natural product made of clay, I think clay is the right word, which needs to dry for at least 12 months to be in the right condition to take this strong process. We manufacture it meanwhile by our own. Here you see the hot melting pots in the furnace with 1450 degrees. And the major ingredients you were talking about is sand, sodium, and limestone. What's most important when you do a craftsmanship, it's the people. It's the knowledge which is being brought from generation to generation. So we build at Lamberts a team of 75 people or 75 experts who really interact every day to run the company almost autark in sourcing the raw materials, in maintaining the factory, the furnaces, the tools, filling the batches, calculating the batches, adjusting the batches during night times, and finally, where we need most of the people, to produce the product. On the left-hand side, I think you, Simon, brought that picture too. It's a copper print of Diderot from around 1750 on the left, and on the right-hand side, you see the manufacturing process at Lamberts. So we were talking about tradition and the past, and we're talking about today. So you have both next to each other, and you see not much changed, because it's very important that not too much change, because we want to have the same production features mentioned before. So here's some impressions about the start of the process, the gathering of the glass, the blowing of the balloon, and the flattening process to finally get a plain sheet of glass. The product we focus on is a clear mouse-blown cylinder glass. We have several versions because not every company in the past, and we had hundreds of glass factories operated in the past, like St. Just and Lamberts, everywhere, even in the United Kingdom. So all companies had their own special product features. They had their own sources. So, and all that affected the quality of the product. So what we collected in the last decades was the knowledge of all the companies around the world to offer the service from our factory. We were talking about hand-casted products. So we are a family-owned company, and we only do handcrafted glass. We majorly mouse-blown, but we also do hand-casted rolled cathedral glass, as well hand-casted slab glass. I also thought about bringing that picture to you, because that's the basis. That was the basis, but today that's how we feed our people, with extraordinary glass compositions, with multi-layered flash glasses used in arts, interior design, and modern architecture. That's what we're talking about today. So about 10 years ago, we received an inquiry from an investor who bought this manor house, and he wanted to turn back the windows in original shape. So he found at Lamberts the right quality of mouse-blown glass. We sampled to him, and he finally decided to go the way to reconstruct, to restore all the windows with mouse-blown cylinder glass. But he had little children, and that's some of the solutions we offer. And he was afraid that the more fragile mouse-blown glass might break when the kids jump into the doors to the children's rooms. So parallel, we were working on a different project, and we could offer it to the customer to thermally temper, to toughen the glass, the mouse-blown glass, and add security and give more strength to the glass. You see, is this the pointer? You see here a test, the picture how the glass breaks after tempering. So that's the same picture you also see with industrial glass. And that's what we bring over. So we produce a material product. So the solution is always done by processing the product with several techniques. So I will show you some more in the next steps. And what is also very often being discussed, this very thin, wavy product is hard to process, even hard to cut. I'm afraid I better stay to the industrial products. I just brought this very, very short image, how we cut the octagons for Harley Ford by hand. And you see how good it breaks. And I additionally brought it because I wasn't aware that I could bring big sheets on my booth, that you can see the appearance and the product features in nature in a big piece of glass. So that's what's finally been installed as single glass unit in wooden windows. We were talking about insulating glass units. So in most of the historic buildings, I don't like this opportunity to get out the old glass and put back insulating glass units, which don't last centuries, what we are used to produce. So we work for centuries. Our target is not to get over the next 10, 20 years. So we want that the building and the materials used remain almost forever. But we are forced, or it's requested and required to offer smart, modern solution, and it's all possible with mouse blown. So you can create a 10 millimeter insulating glass unit with a gas infill which reaches industrial level. And as bigger you get with the spacer in between, as better the U value becomes. That's a nice example in Waldsassen, a 19th century town hall. Protective glazings at a church in Germany. They selected the mouse-blown glass because of the history of the building and because of the reflection of the product. We discussed it earlier. It's not just about the characteristics when you look outside the glass. It's also about the charming, lively facade that it's been kept up in the original, authentic shape with handmade products. And in this case, we laminated the mouse-blown 2 millimeter glass with PVB film and an industrial glass to a laminated safety glass to protect the stained glass window in this church. While mentioning Holyford Manor, I must mention the Hofkirche in Dresden. That was the project we were working on for 15 years. And because of a lot of demands, insulating, noise protection, fire resistance, thermal, whatever, all what's been demanded was demanded here. They asked us, is it possible to toughen mouse-blown glass? So we started up a cooperation with one of our network partners, and we have thousands around the world specialized to know the region, who know the people, who should be asked when you do a restoration at a site. They are well experienced and they really know what they are talking about. So we started to toughen medium CD mouse-blown glass, which was from our perspective impossible, but our partner said he will find a solution, and he really found a solution. So we can offer it for mouse-blown glass with seats, and especially for restoration glass with a very, very less amount of bubbles and a very flat surface. You were mentioning colored mouse-blown glass. So in the beginning, they wanted to achieve a perfect piece of glass, but it was not possible. They couldn't get the temperature which is necessary to melt the glass. They needed to work with the material, so they had to make the product where you need a special viscosity or quality of the molten glass. And of course, you had the sands with a lot of iron oxide content. Today, very much of the sands used in the industry, or most of it, is washed, so it's almost free of any other content, so purely clear. In the past, it was colored, and depending on where it was produced, in the United Kingdom, in Scandinavia, in Germany, in Belgium, wherever, they used several pits with different contaminations. And so they produced slightly colored tints, yellowish, bluish, greenish. But they also tried to decolor the glass with manganese oxide, which unfortunately solarizes in the sunlight. That's why you probably find a lot of violetish glass, which was originally clear. And to confirm the knowledge we have bundled up in Waldsassen, I was focusing on the United Kingdom. So decades ago, he had a manufacturer, Hartley Woods, and his major distributor was James Hadley. And James Hadley was bought by Pearson's Glass about 15 years ago, I would say, 20 years ago, who are here, our partners from the United Kingdom. So we bundled up the color series they offered to their market. And we build it up in a standard collection. So you see, compared to each other, standards that have been produced in the past centuries in England or have been used in England, being standardized. So if you find in any books, color codes, information about the glass, we have the samples available. We know exactly what you're talking about, and we don't find the pit where we can collect the sand, but we can manipulate the batch to get exactly the color you require and produce it in the product type which is required for the building. The more classic restoration glass or the light restoration glass, the CD glass, the decorative glass, whatever. To show that we are not just stupid, keeping to our roots and do what we do today as well as we did it in the beginning of the 20th century, I want to show you the example at York Minster. York Minster repaired the stained glass windows with Araldite, UV-sensitive glue. So they tried to keep even the broken pieces of the stained glass window in the cathedral, and they tried to find a solution to keep it in good condition as long as possible. So they were starting to talk about UV protection. And the only solution on the market is to coat glass, industrial glass, because the mouse-blown surface is too open, or to laminate the glass. And this all would have been the result that you need to take care about the complete window structure or architecture because it's much heavier than a single glass solution. So we were researching and developing how to get the UV filter into the glass. So we found out, or we created over a decade, a recipe that has all the ingredients in the glass to finally have the UV filter effect in the glass. And what they were demanding at York Minster, they would say, how long can you give a guarantee? And we made tests, and we reached the limit we could test in laboratories. But we found out that there is no decrease in function, which is the case with industrial, modern, organic coatings or laminates. So we said, we could give you 200 years if you want a guarantee. So they finally switched from the former laminated version to single glass mouse blown with UV filter effect, produced the same way, just treated differently, and they just had to add another layer of a stained glass window. So single glass units put in lead in a special design that suits perfectly to the building. And that's the way we produced the product for York Minster, for example. And to the left, you see a picture how they produced it a century ago. So it's really the same. It has not just the production features, it has the production features because it's done exactly the same way. Stained glass, color glass, glass painting, experts, glass painters, stained glass studios, joineries specialized in working with historic buildings should be your people to speak to, the craftsmen. They are really of additional value. And they are finally the ones who have to restore, reconstruct the buildings, the windows. The same here, we can produce any kind of color composition you can imagine in any kind of mouse-blown or hand-casted quality. It has to do with restoration. It's not window restoration, but a kind of window. So who can imagine what I'm talking about at this picture? Exactly. It was also a customized product where one of the major architects of the UK asked us to assist him to create a pot molten opal being produced in a mouse-blown cylinder process to achieve the original and authentic appearance they want to get. And we thought, very simple. They're talking about white glass. We have 15 standards. But during the process, we learned how careful they were looking on the white color. It should be a little bit yellow and not too blue. The reflection should be right, but also the translucence should be right when it's lit up in night times. So I'm finally very proud, and I saw it last year in August, my first time, and I was so proud about my team and the network and the open and honest cooperation with all involved people to finally produce the right product for Big Ben, which is probably one of the most popular heritage monuments in the world. That's it. I hope I could fill the gaps. I really hope that with our presentations, you have enough information to ask the right questions or even start to ask questions. So we are to your availability with our partners. And I thank you again for organizing this good audience, and thank you for your attention.